Welcome to the 2024 Phish Studies Conference Video Archive. The Mockingbird Foundation is thrilled and proud to present this groundbreaking video series on our YouTube channel. It continues our tradition of celebrating music education. Since 1996, we have been an all-volunteer nonprofit organization dedicated to broadening access to educational opportunities for youth in music and the musical arts. Please visit mbird.org to donate today.
All right. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming again this morning. Today we're going to have the session called Bought for the Price of a Flagon of Rice, the Business of Phish. We have three presenters today. There are going to be two via Zoom. Those will go first. And then the last one will be here in person. Our first presenter is Garrett Mitchell, who's an oceanographer and a marine biotech startup founder. He spent some time at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute. His day job is remote sensing of hydrocarbon seeps in the ocean, at least according to Google Scholar. But today we're going to learn about Phish-Tickets-By-Mail, which I dearly, dearly miss. Take it away, Garrett.
All right. So, thank you for that introduction. Thank you guys for having me. I just want to reach out to Stephanie, just say thank you for allowing me to participate remotely. I unfortunately was sick. I've been kind of having lingering symptoms of long COVID, and it hasn't been fun. But this is a topic I've been thinking about for a couple years now, and I'm finally kind of getting it on paper. And I heard about this conference and this academic forum, and I'm like, this is going to be the perfect way to go ahead and kind of introduce a idea that I had. I don't even know if it exists, if it hasn't existed, who knows? But I would love feedback on it, so I can give you an email at the end. So the title of my talk, it's called 20-Some Years Later, a Historical, Cultural, and Nostalgic Look Back at Phish-Tickets-By-Mail, with thoughts towards a collaborative PTBM 2.0 project. I call this LivePTBM, and it's something I started thinking about in 2022. I kind of held on for a little bit, and I was involved in a few different startups last year, and I'm thinking about making this project a nonprofit and offering it through to Waterwheel, and I'm just kind of giving it to Phish and their management, just saying thank you for 40 years of the entertainment and meeting my family and friends. So, all right. So it's Phish-Tickets-By-Mail. So I guess a quick outline. I'm going to go into the kind of the history of the PTBM as I know it. I had initially intended to give some interviews. I wanted to talk to Shelley Culbertson out in Patagonia, and a few others. But because I had some other work-related issues to handle, I basically used Phish.net, which I found to be one of the best sources of information that I could imagine. The fan base has really put in a lot of historical material on the internet, and I'm very grateful for that. So it made my job fairly easy. And then for the second part of it, I'm going to talk about some of the nostalgia that's involved with this PTBM tickets, why we love them, why we do not like the, digital transformation, even though it's here. Talk about that technology transfer, and then what PTBM has kind of turned into, which seems to be dry goods merch. And I feel like the term PTBM has been skewed a little bit over the years now. It doesn't really kind of carry the same meaning anymore. So, but right here, actually on the screen, I was including just examples of some of the PTBM tickets, the new Ticketmaster style that is in your phones when you're going into the show that seem to be disappearing. I'm a collector like a lot of people are. I wish I have so many of these PTBM ticket stubs. I wish I could somehow save my digital tickets somehow, and that's where this idea came from. And on the far right, through my extensive research into this, I found out that there is a very similar product in the market by Humphreys McGee. And so it's kind of a potentially good model too, if I'm going to go ahead and design this project. Okay, so kind of a history of the Phish-Tickets-By-Mail. As from what I found on the internet, obviously it's a Phish-run service. It's developed by Shelley Culbertson. She started it in I think 1994. I think Taper's tickets came out first, and the fan tickets came out a little bit later. It was a convenient way for the band to sell portion of their tickets directly to the fans. And the cool thing about it is that it had those, they were artistic tickets. They were immediate collector's editions. And I loved going in and doing those, the money orders and sending those and getting your tickets in the mail. It was just, it's kind of happy to look back at, being around this band for so long. So I guess so between summer 1995 and April of 2001, we used the Daniak Schweiss, if I pronounced that right. And then in 2001, they switched over to using Phish.com. That was kind of the start of the digital revolution for Phish. So you were ordering your tickets directly from the company on their website. This avoided ticket fees, which was nice. I didn't miss those days of sleeping out by a Ticketmaster venue. But I still have most of my tickets. They're sitting right here. I started looking at them last night and kind of brought back a lot of interesting memories. So, okay, so the next couple of slides are basically just repeats. Shelley got some help from Grateful Dead Productions that I found out, and I went back to look at the Grateful Dead tickets that they offered. I saw some Dead shows before I saw Phish, and I had just Ticketmaster tickets. So I had no idea that the similarities were very similar between, what we saw in 96 and 97 with what the Dead had towards the last several years. And this is just another graphic showing kind of the similarities of these tickets. And if you notice the tickets on the right, if you see the dates, I just kind of added that in because it's, a little sad they'd already printed their, the Grateful Dead tickets by mail before they knew about Jerry. So, there's a lot of these floating around. I think they still kind of carry a nice price on eBay. All right, and so I want to actually recommend this book. I've just started reading it. It actually has a very, very good background about all of this, how we got to where we are today within this industry. So it's got a lot of, the Grateful Dead ticket sales, and then the Phish PTBM is a major part of ticket sales. These are bands that, depend on a lot of their revenue from touring acts. And so they sell a lot of tickets. And so, they were kind of a driving force in how, tickets evolved over the years. So if you guys probably remember this is the Daniak Schweiss. This was the newsletter we used to get every few months. I remember going to pick it up from the post office. You could look through these kind of odd articles written by members of the band, like Mike's Corner, Tickets by Mail. It was always at the end, and you would circle your tickets. I think if I remember right, you had to get money orders. You had to do everything very specifically, and then you would send that in and wait a few weeks. You either got your money orders back that you could, recash, or you got, hard tickets. So it was always kind of a, treat to actually go to the show with the PTBM. So it was one of those things you wanted to keep, and it reminded you of the show. And it was just kind of a nice memorabilia. So when paper meet digital, so it seems like around, from what I've read, I don't know if the last PTBM ticket that was used as an actual ticket, it was sometime in late 2021, but by 2022, they were fully digital. There's plenty of information on social media sites, Reddit, Fishnet, about people's reactions. It seems like there's a lot of people out there that are actually missing PTBM hard tickets and PTBM tickets. I could kind of see it coming. It was okay with me. It was just, I wish that Ticketmaster would have put a little bit more effort into us being able to keep our tickets. I've lost show count over the years. I think I was using Fantasy Tour for a while, and I'm not sure, how many shows I've seen anymore. And in my Apple Wallet, it seems like you get these, Ticketmaster tickets, and then after you use them, they seem to be, they disappear. So I kind of started to form this idea of how to try to merge, what we liked in the art into a more digital form. So digital ticketing. So, yep, on the left right here are some of the, beautiful, colorful PTBMs that we're used to. The one on the far left, I would say that's maybe, Twitch says 2015, 2016. Yeah, I didn't see every show. So it was always kind of cool how each tour had its own graphic. I was a huge fan of those late 90s shows. That was my kind of heyday for Phish. So that was my, my big nostalgia. But I think at the top, that's, probably, I had a Dick's ticket from there, 2016, 2017 or so. But, regardless, they're beautiful. I have, probably a couple hundred of them. I didn't know what to do with them. When they went fully digital, I thought about, putting them into some type of like bar counter and like putting lacquer on it. Or I actually have a little red book. I don't know if you guys can see me or not, but I had it's kind of my show book. I used to tape the ticket stub in there, and then write the set list. So I was definitely a set list guy. And I just started throwing all my memorabilia, into this book. So I just pulled it out for the first time in so many years. And yeah, it's kind of interesting to see what I had written in there. And the state of the tickets. Sometimes some of these tickets are pretty crumpled. All right, so just a couple more pictures of just what I think is the blandness of this. I was going into Bethel last year, or in 2022. We had really good seats, and for some reason, my digital ticket was denied. I had to go to the box office. It was a big issue. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. It's like, how can my digital ticket that I bought not be, for the seat that I thought I was going to? And I guess there was a misunderstanding. I guess they had filled that seat with somebody else's ticket. And they gave me, like pit tickets or front row pretty much, which was a nice treat. Unfortunately, it was my son's first show. So I didn't spend too much time up there. But. So it looked like PTBM then was still kind of being marketed by Phish. It's become these commemorative ticket stubs. There's magnets, which I admit I bought quite a few of them. I still like the art that they're making and that they put on there. But this seemed to be kind of the more modern. This is what they moved to. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why, in 2022, why Phish decided to kind of scale everything down. They wanted to, focus more on the art. And the performance over the business, which I'm sure was growing exponentially by then. So it is kind of understandable that they did what they did. So. And then PTBM today, I'm trying to figure out exactly. So people use the word PTBM. I almost feel like it's the pre-sale lotto ticket, but it doesn't seem. I don't know. The lotto doesn't have the same feel anymore, if you know what I mean. So I think the word's still out there. I don't think PTBM really exists anymore. It's unfortunate because to me, PTBM brings up these nice memories, but some people are seeing it as something negative, like they didn't get tickets to the lottery or they're unhappy. And it's like, this isn't even actually what true PTBM was to me at the time. So, So there's definitely on social media, you can definitely sense the nostalgia. So last year, when I had long COVID, I pretty much spent a year laying on my back, napping and staring at my phone and kind of thinking about this idea of making digital tickets. For some reason, I was like, that this is my $1 million idea. I was like, I'm going to make this a business. Maybe we could do like poster art on this. And, the more I thought about it, the more it was like, it's just, this is a collaborative community that we have. And I started thinking, like, this would be kind of cool to do with a lot of people. I think, if we kind of crowdsource this out, we'd have a lot more ideas. I see that it looks like there's a market for PTBM. I'm not even sure if they're making magnets or even the commemorative tickets for all the shows. I didn't get to go to the Sphere, but so it seems like a lot of the material now, the products are coming from the fan base, which is still pretty cool. I just don't understand why Phish isn't still at least kind of offering this as a type of merch. So, but I included here just some, a couple quotes that I found online that I thought were funny. Yep. And it's more nostalgia. It looks like what people have been doing with their tickets. They weren't sure what to do with them. The one picture right here with the framed on the wall. That's beautiful. It's nice. Mine are unfortunately, kind of all over the place in different boxes from moving so many times, but they're there. So kind of threw a couple of these up just to see what people have been doing with theirs. And I've noticed that now there's a market actually for some of these vintage PTBMs. I wouldn't say that, people are buying these tickets that haven't been to the show, but people are trying to kind of filling in their missing gaps. So there is a market for it. I noticed for the Red Rocks, it was like $220 for the one on eBay. And I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. But, it's whatever people are going to pay. I guess they pay. So there is a kind of a price history guide, similar to have like, it kind of follows post art in a little way, that there's a kind of market price guide that's out there with what tickets are going for. And then this is my personal nostalgia. So on the left there is my red book that I have, and then I had pictures. I would just get the ticket stubs, I would tape them in there, write the set list down during the show. So I kind of like lug this thing around each one of the shows. I was definitely one of those guys that used to take set list on like an index card. I started doing that with the Grateful Dead. Carried it over to Phish. I remember at some recent show, I was still doing that, and someone made a comment. He's like, the internet will do that for you. And I was like, oh man, you're completely missing the point. But yeah, maybe it's just me or me being nostalgia. But I've always loved this stuff. My wife likes to think, she's like, this nostalgia, she's like, you're the only one that's actually interested in it. But, I think there's a lot of us that are interested in their own experiences at Phish. These are, it's not just us going to a concert to like hear music. We're going there to listen to, finely crafted, beautiful art, and a very, one of a kind of experience. And, people do like to keep these collectibles as kind of memories that they can look back off and on. Just a few more of these pictures that I had found. I threw these in there because I found them all last night. Unfortunately, I found a letter that Trey wrote to the band in 2004, the Coventry. And some more set lists. Then I had some pictures just thrown in there. So this kind of adds actually to the idea of kind of making a custom digital ticket that we could re-release PTBM on, that is kind of at the intersection between the band and the fans. And the fans can kind of contribute some of the excellent essays on their experiences, pictures. We can just customize these. All right, so these are some of the fan-designed PTBM tickets that I've seen out there. This is just a small subsampling of what exists out there. There's a lot out there. Josine has some great products. I bought a lot of the tickets from that Etsy. Weird Fishes, it seems like they actually have a working PTBM ticket. You can actually buy it at the box office and then use it as a ticket, which is pretty cool. And then there's, the number of these commemorative digital tickets. They'll make their own, tickets. You can get tickets printed. There's a concert ticket format, it looks like. I just found that. So, all types of products that when Phish kind of, disbanded his project, that, the fans kept going with it. So I think that says something about what we could potentially do.
Hey,
I think, there's a
couple of minutes. A couple of minutes.
All right. So, okay, see, this is some more of the collector's items, just saying that we collect. And I think there's a business model that we can take advantage of. Phish is involved with a lot of artist-driven philanthropy, as we know, benefit concerts, a number of different things through Waterwheel. Just some more of the organizations that they use. So the idea that I had was actually making a blockchain-based NFT tickets that I thought was going to be completely original. It's not. So Humphreys McGee does a very similar thing where they released old tickets that you could get. So I figured what I was going to do is I was going to create a project based on my own. I was going to fund it, and I'd like to make it open source with the community if I would need help on, maybe identifying nonprofits. The whole idea was to get a band for each, each show that's released, I'd like to do it within tours. Maybe Kevin Shapiro can drop them. It's seen through Live Phish as kind of a wallet. And then the band gets to pick a nonprofit, and then the fans get to vote on a nonprofit. And then maybe podcasts can go ahead and talk about the history of the show, as well as the mission of each one of these nonprofits, just to get awareness out. You do some good. It's a purely nonprofit endeavor, and I would love all of you out there that are interested in it to be a part of it. So yeah, and so this basically, Live Phish would be the wallet. So my wife runs a software company. This is not, I have emailed Beth and mentioned I would be sending her a proposal. So I'm actually working on that now. I thought, bringing it up here in this academic forum would be kind of more appropriate, because I would like it to be seen as an open source collaborative project that I would like, feedback, critique, help on, anything. So I think that should be it. Yeah, these are just examples of nonprofits I thought we could. I said Patagonia because that's Shelley's, but obviously Divided Sky. Yeah, I think we all owe Trey a little bit. So, but pretty much that's it. And here the existing ones. So there's a model out there that we could use. They don't use PTBM, so maybe that's where the differentiator plus the nonprofits. So, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Garrett. Do we have any questions? All right, Alex.
Hi, Garrett. It's a great concept. You get that. I do want to give some historical context to everything.
Sure.
Phish has never really had control over their Phish-Tickets-By-Mail, to be honest. It was run by the Flynn box office from 1993 to 2000.
Yeah, that does.
And then they switched to Tickets Today because it was run by Red Light, which got sold to Ticketmaster, which is why it all went to Ticketmaster's system in 2022.
Yes.
So how do you get this? How do you get such a large corporate behemoth on board with this concept to integrate into their systems that, to be honest, they can barely run as is?
Yes, that's a good point, and it was something that I found initially. I wanted these to be seen as a working concert ticket. They do exist. I think as I'm seeing it now, that these are just going to be kind of commemorative pieces of art. If Phish owns the rights to, I don't know how it works when they, have Chimbalik has a PTBM type design out there. Does Phish own that? Can we mint that as an NFT? These are questions I am going to have to figure out. I kind of abandoned the idea of using it as a ticket because all roads led to Live Nation and Ticketmaster and Tickets Today. I, unfortunately found out where that led. So it's definitely something, yes, to figure out. But yeah, I did know about that. So it's a good point to bring up.
And Jake is going to come on up.
Hi, Garrett. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I want to, first of all, let you know you're not the only person writing down the set list at the show. And I get the same comments like, oh, you can look on the internet. But I think there's more than nostalgia behind that. I know this isn't really the central point of your talk today, but I do want to say I think that there's ritual involved in that, at least for me. And I think that it goes beyond nostalgia as well to be more of a practice that is part of the entire existence of the show. My friends and I like to joke that I forgot my set list book for Curveball, and that's why they canceled it, because I didn't have my set list book with me. So I don't know that I have a question specifically, but I guess I'd be interested in your thoughts on the idea of sort of active practice versus nostalgia, and maybe collecting is also a ritual practice or a practice that is tied to fan identity that goes beyond nostalgia. And I'd love your thoughts on that.
Right. Yes. And so as much as I want to say I'm a collector and I would actually be buying these, I think I'm actually happy with what I have in my box of all my tickets. The I guess this is just meant to see what I thought I saw as kind of maybe a market opportunity for people to have some type of keepsake from a show that they knew was going to a charity. I hopefully if there's an existing model out there and it doesn't cost much, that this would be like the price of a ticket or a magnet or something like that, like $15 or something, maybe $20. So it'd be very low overhead, and then could be something that could go into, live Phish. They could access, the show that way. Maybe some, if the band wanted to donate some, video clips or something that had been unreleased. I thought maybe Phish could actually use this marketing to try to get people to sign up for Live Phish Plus. I don't know. There's a lot of different ideas, but I completely understand about that ritual with the tickets. So.
The economist, this is Paul. The economist in me says that if the profit opportunity were available, someone would be exploiting it already.
Right. Yes.
So I wonder if perhaps there are some hidden constraints that are sort of preventing this. I don't know if they're copyright issues or something like that. But I, for one, actually truly miss the paper ticket. And I've got a couple of PTBM stories, but my favorite one was the FedEx guy showing up at my place for work, and the receptionist was signing for something there, and she tells the gentleman delivering the tickets, "Oh, they go to that guy." I look at it, I see where it's from, and I started jumping up and down. And the FedEx guy said, "What is in those envelopes? I have been making people happy all day."
That's awesome. That's a great story. Yeah, I agree with you too. I was thinking that too, because I came up, I'm like, I like to think that I have good ideas, but I'm like, surely somebody has thought of this. And I was like, for a second, I'm like, how has no one put this and this together? And there was a conspicuously absent product on the market. I started thinking, well, maybe Ticketmaster kind of like, has this pretty much clamped down, which I feel like it probably does. And then I was like, well, has anyone else done this before, just for their own band? And it looked like, Humphreys does something similar. I think they offer, they're called like dynamic NFTs. They offer like, additional fan VIP type, benefits. I'm not sure exactly what they are, but, I just ultimately kind of hoping this product would just raise awareness for various nonprofits associated with the band, in particular with Trey's Divided Sky. I think without him making good life decisions, I wouldn't have met my wife. But it's kind of, the whole fate is kind of crazy. But I miss PTBMs a lot, and I thought this would be a good way to maybe just generate a few extra dollars for some nonprofits that the band of the community cared about.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Garrett. And this is, of course, being recorded, so hopefully a few people will see this and express some interest in contact you.
No, great.
Right, thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. I talked about, so we're going to go to the next Zoom presentation, please.
Yes. Hello. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hang on a second. There we go. Okay. All right. Now you're on our screen here. Hang on just a moment here. Garrett has a pretty cool job working underneath the ocean and everything, but maybe this guy's day job is one that we really want. Ari Fink is a senior director of programming at SiriusXM, and he helped create our favorite channel, Phish Radio, and Dave Matthews Band Radio. So Ari, we'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's wonderful to see you guys virtually, and sending lots of love to Dr. Jenkins and appreciation for putting this incredible consortium together, and to our moderator as well. I really appreciate you guys being here and spending the time to dig into some of these topics, and look forward to hearing your thoughts and getting some feedback on a very, very interesting journey over the past 5 years or so. So hopefully you can see the abstract that I've got up here as it relates to Phish Radio, a satellite high above the atmosphere, how we design Phish's channel on SiriusXM. Now, you know, for those of you that have been paying very close attention, of course, the band has evolved quite a bit over the course of their 41 years. And, you know, the art has remained at the forefront and the bleeding edge of expression in so many different ways, stayed true to itself, and has continued to sort of stay in line with the times. And you know, in watching Garrett's presentation, I couldn't help but think about, you know, Dead & Company at the Sphere, and the way that they integrated some of the classic artwork and venues, and how they're sort of integrating you know, those nostalgic and really culturally relevant aspects of their community and their ethos in the bright lights of 2024 at the, you know, in 16K and, you know, 164,000, you know, different pixels, etc. And so, you know, I think it's a really interesting subject. I appreciate Garrett's presentation as well, and being able to think about how this, you know, storied and legendary career kind of translates and continues to iterate into, you know, the present times and the future, because the band is healthier than ever. The band is more connected than ever in so many different ways. And SiriusXM's Phish Radio has really helped to at least solidify that for me. And the experience has been nothing short of singular and remarkable. You know, we had worked with Phish for the duration of the 3.0 era when they came back in 2009, and the company was still a fledgling startup with billion-dollar satellites in the sky. You know, our capabilities were just beginning to scratch the surface. But as our company grew, and as our, you know, content portfolio continued to expand, we were given opportunities to work with the band when it came to new albums being rolled out, solo records, live broadcasts here and there. And as that sort of relationship grew from the time of, let's call it 2011 up until 2017 or 2018, you know, we developed a really strong working relationship with them, and were able to really spread their art and represent what they do in new and interesting ways. And I think that, you know, a lot of that has to do with how we got to the point where we got to in 2018, which was a discussion about, gee, might it make sense for this iconic band to have their own channel and create their own ecosystem within the SiriusXM platform? And, you know, for me, I was originally hired to help build the Grateful Dead channel in 2007. And, you know, when I sort of spent my first 6, 9, 12 months working with David Lemieux and David Gans and Gary Lambert and putting the nuts and bolts together on that channel, I couldn't help but think to myself, why not Phish? It's got to be Phish. I mean, why this makes too much sense. I mean, there's so much ground to cover, and the possibility is just so enormous for an interactive experience where fans and the band members and the community can all sort of congeal into one living, breathing audio ecosystem. And so it you know, really did kind of slow roll its way to 2018, when, after working with them on several projects, specials, takeovers, live broadcasts, as I said, you know, the conversation really started to solidify. We created a pop-up channel, which is a limited run audio station with the band in 2018. It aired for 2 weeks, twice in 2018 in August to cap off their summer tour of that year, and then as well the last 2 weeks of the year leading into and through the New Year's run of 2018. And it was, met with enough positivity and support by both the community and all the organizations involved that, once that second limited run ended, the conversation turned towards, well, this sure does seem to make a whole lot of sense. Should we talk about making it a permanent station? Which, to be totally upfront with you guys, is a very, very huge thing. I mean, SiriusXM has, artist channels with Willie Nelson, Eminem, Kenny Chesney, Elvis, the Grateful Dead, Tom Petty, and has created a ton of limited run pop-up channels, including most recently Taylor Swift. But for a channel to sort of graduate to a permanent place on the satellite, it really speaks not just to the artist and their music, but the engagement, the content that's created, and also the community. So there is a lot of hurdles that go into making that jump, and the conversation turning towards that and eventually becoming a reality is continues to be an incredible thing. Now, lifting up the hood here, there is a ton that goes into constructing and designing a SiriusXM audio experience, and I'm going to go ahead and bounce around a few different multimedia examples for you guys to get a sense of what we do. Now, I could probably spend hours upon hours getting into the minutia of all of this. So if there's anything that I'm breezing by, feel free to ask in the Q&A period, or hit me up offline. I love nothing more than really getting as deep as possible on the contextual and the strategic and the approach of what we do, why we do it, and how we try to execute it. But we're going to start at the tip of the iceberg real quick, if you don't mind. And I'm going to go ahead and find a couple of early examples as to what it was that we started with here on SiriusXM, if you don't mind. So hang tight with me while we bounce around a little bit. And I'm going to share a couple of things for you to see. Now, what you're going to see is from 2018. It was part of our launch of the initial pop-up of Phish Radio, limited run, first ever sort of collaboration on this scale. And this is from a feature that was called Ask Trey, in which we invited listeners to send us questions, and we posed them to Mr. Anastasio, who provided answers. And here's one that really stood out.
Our next question comes from Alex, and he wants to know, what was your first impression of John Fishman?
Oh, God, that's a great question. I went to UVM, and I was at my first day, and it was like post-orientation or something, and there's a library. There's more buildings around the library now than there used to be. But, and I saw this guy walk by. Oh, my God. I'll never forget it. It was like, as geeky as this might sound, it's almost kind of like, this is going to sound, I'm like I'm overstepping my bounds, but I actually don't think it is. It was kind of like, I felt like it was kind of like love at first sight.
Of course.
I really mean that.
It was, and it is.
This guy goes by with he's like tie-dye down to his knees, this oversized and big, huge hair, and these ill-fitting Coke bottle glasses, and this ridiculous look on his face. I remember it. It's crystally burned in my memory. I was standing right here on the grass, and he was over there. And I was just like, who is that? Oh my God, who is that guy? And then sometime later, I don't know if I talked to him right then, but sometime later I ended up, he was in my dorm compound, but the dorm next to mine. And I ended up knocking this, I think it was like the same day or maybe one day later, knocking on a door and opening it up, and there he was. And I was like, oh my God, it's you, it's that guy. And he had his drums in his room, and I ran and got my amp, and we started playing together.
All right. So one thing that jumps out, aside from my giddiness personally, but has to be obviously the authentic and, storytelling aspect of bringing listeners right into their world, and also the honesty and the directness in real time that Trey has when he's talking about that chance meeting. And what we try to do constantly, and our number one goal is to bring fans closer to the bands that we work with on SiriusXM. So in order to do that, being able to connect listeners and fans from throughout their 40-year career and provide a window into the experiential on their end is really just one of the biggest value adds for the channel, and also it's one of the most meaningful things that we can do. Now that, like I said, it's one feature, it was one special. We certainly produced that into a long form listen with video clips and utilized it in the context of the channel, but it truly is the tip of the iceberg. It's literally like, a bell and a whistle into the granular detail that goes into what we do on SiriusXM. And I want to give you guys a little bit of context as to what that granularity can look like, if you don't mind, now that we kind of like tugged at the heartstrings and got a chance to see, what the front facing aspects of a radio station launch, can look like on the internet. Now let's get into the nitty gritty, if you will. So Phish Radio has a small but mighty staff. There are 2 on-air hosts in addition to me, Jonathan Schwartz and Eliza Alishant. We have an imaging producer who is a Pro Tools whiz and who essentially builds the audio that you hear in between the songs on the channel. We have a channel coordinator. SiriusXM supports its channels with digital and PR and marketing and, business affairs, legal as needed on, the sort of like top line projects that come and go throughout the year. But our staff is extremely dedicated and has great experience. We also have a station voice, which kind of sounds funny because the band is, the 4 band members are the ones that you hear on the channel quite a bit. However, in between their voices and the host's voices, there is a quote unquote voiceover station announcer, more traditionally looked at or listened to. For the first 5 years, Scott Rogowski was our station voice. And for those of you that are active listeners, you might have caught a new female voice who is now picking up the ball and running with it, who is she's a wonderful, really, really talented industry professional who prefers to remain anonymous at this time. But my guess is you've read quite a bit of her work or perhaps seen her here and there on the internet, or if you're an active music media consumer. So with all that being said, you have an idea of who works on the channel. Now, my job is to direct the programming of the band station, to put everybody in their right places, and essentially make sure that the structure and design of the channel is both in line with the band's ethos and representative of what all of the various organizations involved and stakeholders are looking for as far as its output. So when we take the hood off of the spaceship, so to speak, what we've got are 2 mirrored audio databases. Okay. And the reason that it's not just one audio database is because there's a lot going on each side of what happens. Now, on one side, we have essentially the audio playout system, which is it's software called Zeta. It's a French company. It looks like this, as you can see, and what you're looking at right now is what's playing in this moment in time. Bug into Piper. This is a host break here. We've got in light blue, we have the imaging pieces, which are the production elements that are made in between songs that are not host breaks. And as you scroll down, you can see we've got a complete concert here at 3 p.m. Eastern in about 28 minutes. Elisa will be picking up her shift right here. And so she's going to be introducing this concert, which is a complete show. Looks like she's got an empty voice track here. And why would it be empty? Well, our hosts track as close to real time as possible, and we certainly try to keep things fresh and in the moment. One thing that is really important to both the band and to us at SiriusXM is to create an in the moment experience that provides a lens into what's happening on that day in that moment for listeners all across North America at any given time. So she is in the process of recording her show. Here we go, scanning through the rest of the day. As you can see, these are empty voice tracks that she has yet to record. She's going to sort of read the news, figure out what's timely, catch a vibe as to what a Sunday afternoon might look or feel like for a Phish fan or someone flipping by the radio, and speak to that moment, record and upload her voice track, and then segue it into our playout system. Now we can take a quick look at tomorrow, which is probably, oh yeah, there it is. Okay. So we don't have hosted content from personalities in the overnights. That's what we're looking at here. And the light blue is what we call imaging. I'm going to play this down the line. Hopefully it plays out. Let me just get my audio squared away and let's see if we can listen to this.
Welcome to the Phish Radio Multiverse.
A rugged mountainous region of jagged peaks and yawning chasms.
Nearly 40 years of music. Commentary from the band.
Phish Radio is symbiotic with the progression of the band.
The fans.
I love this band and this community more than ever.
And complete concerts. Daily.
We have the special.
On Phish Radio.
Alrighty. So, that
Ari,
is
we got a couple of minutes here.
Perfect. Thank you for the heads up. I do appreciate it. You're the man, Paul. Thank you. I'm going to show, that's one side of our database. And now I'm going to give you a really quick look at, hey, Paul, did you hear that audio, by the way? That played out?
Yes. I'm sorry. I had to turn my mic on.
Perfect. All right, great. Just making sure we're all on the same page and I can move at a brisk pace. So I really appreciate you guys staying with me here. I'm now going to show you our scheduling software. The reason that we have mirrored audio databases is because what's happening in our scheduling software, which is called Music Master, is a very, very complex and demanding sort of arrangement of our audio elements. What you see here on the left are categories. Okay, every audio element is categorized. Songs are broken down into hyper new, which is where songs from the Sphere would be, as an example, or new studio tracks. The power category has, quote unquote bangers from throughout history. I've also got 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 strength. And by strength, I mean songs and versions of songs that you really want to hear. Special sets are some trickeration that we use to pair specific song setups into specific song selections. We've got studio, and then we've got a whole bunch of specialty categories. Here in green are our production elements. It's our imaging, which is what we call it. Now, you might notice here, each band member has contributed their own style of production. Fishman has gotten super weird with it on his vocoder and on his vacuum in his home studio. Mike, contributes a lot of offbeat, very quirky style VO for us. Trey has created custom jingles for us that are essentially him in his Rubber Jungle home studio improvising. And then from there, we've got more traditional promos, positioners, which explain the channel, ramps, which are sort of commentary pieces talking about specific aspects of the community and the music, and onwards. Now, I could spend another 20 minutes going through what goes into the software design of this, but let me just say, without getting too granular, that these databases are completely customizable. All the metadata is basically created for each radio station. And so I can assign, red, green, blue, slow, fast, old, new, bluegrass, metal, spacey, all kinds of metadata. And then we assign rules to essentially tell the software how that metadata should interact and schedule in a flow. Once we do that, we create a rule tree. We design what's called a clock, which is organizing the categories in the layout. We ask the software to schedule it, and then we fix the computer's mistakes or confusing spots. We sort of go through each day and hand massage what we know sound good as humans. And that is a very, very, very quick sort of look and listen at what we do on Phish Radio. I really just want to thank you guys for taking the time to, take a look under the hood and hang out and be able to see all the work that goes into it. It's a really, really great team and an unbelievable experience. And, at the end of the day, we're just hoping to bring the band closer to fans all across the country and provide, fresh context and content for people in as much depth and breadth as we possibly can.
All right. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you, sir. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And do we have time for questions?
Oh, yeah. We're going to do about 10 minutes worth of questions here.
Sweet.
And I'm going to go ahead and assert my moderator's right to ask the very first one, because how often are you going to get this opportunity, right? So you talked about the process leading up to the band getting its own channel. Channel 29 is prime real estate on the dial.
Yes, sir.
And there was the big kerfuffle when Jam On and a couple of other channels got moved deeper or got higher numbers. What goes into deciding who gets the prime real estate and who does not?
Sure. It's a great question. And, 5 years later, it's certainly still as relevant as ever. I mean, Phish is not the only band that I love, and it's not the only, audience that I certainly want to, try to work really, really hard for and collaborate with without a doubt. Now, there are a ton of factors that go into dial position. It is a very tricky thing. What I can say is that it's a very, very delicate dance that constantly creates industry-wide struggle. I mentioned Taylor Swift. She had a pop-up channel over the past month or so. Well, what happened? Where did they put it? She wanted to put it on channel 13. It's part of the Taylor Swift ethos. Well, one of the neighboring channels is occupied by someone named John Mayer. Now, this caused a little bit of more than a kerfuffle. I mean, this was a kerfuffle. Like this is, tricky stuff, and dial position can be very dicey. What I will say is that while that transition happened, having built Jam On and having programmed Jam On from the years of 2011 to 2018 and really, put my blood, sweat, and tears and heart and soul into that, one of the most important things for me in that moment was to ensure that Jam On remained in as many cars as possible, and more importantly, stayed in a position where royalties would be paying out in a major way to the artists. the royalty discussion is a separate one, and I'm happy to take that offline. But what I will say is, by ensuring that Jam On ended up on channel 309, we essentially were able to continue to provide a massive, significant financial, support to the community and to those bands that were getting airplay that aren't seen on Dwight Yoakam's channel 740, whatever, as an example. Once you get into the internet numbers, things change drastically on the royalty side. And I also will say that, the 300s are now, I believe, in like 83% of cars as well. So we're trying to make improvements on that front to bring as much relevant content across the board as we can.
All right, thank you. And I'll note that I just love the Dwight Yoakam channel. It's
yeah,
awesome.
Man, no doubt. There's a ton of great stuff across the board. I mean, it's a vast musical universe, and one of the greatest things about what we do is being able to really apply to as many nooks and crannies as we possibly can.
All right, so Matthew.
Hey, Ari, it's Matt here. Just wanted to ask you, because you worked on both, I noticed a difference between the Grateful Dead channel and Phish is that there are a lot more station IDs on Phish in between songs. So how is that decision made? And what's the sort of function of the station IDs there? And that might be a light criticism. Okay.
Yeah. No worries. I know you probably know you're listening to Phish, and you're listening to Phish Radio, and you may not need to be told, even if it's by Trey, which I get. I think that the Dead's station build features a significantly elongated, more drawn out pace that is specifically directed towards its age demo, and where Phish falls, being in that 90s core, 30s, 40s, 50s year olds, male and female. I think that there probably is a little bit more of exposition that we do try to provide, not just for the people who could pick out a Phish song or a specific version of a Phish song in 2 notes, but for their friend in the car who's sitting there and maybe kind of getting hooked, or maybe, Phish curious, maybe into it, but not all the way there quite yet. We definitely want to be an inclusive sort of presentation that accounts for casual fans who may, be discovering, the music or learning about the context for the first time and hasn't read, all of the literature out there. I also think that when we, just as a heads up, when we sort of started to conceptualize the channel, one of the channels that Trey in particular was very taken by was Tom Petty's channel. There were a few different artist channels that we kind of used as benchmarks in our creative conversations, and the Grateful Dead was not one of them.
All right, now we have Ellis Goddard from Mockingbird Foundation.
Hey, Ari. I love everything you do. Listen to the channel all the time. I'm curious, though, because I get asked weekly, I'm not exaggerating, why people don't hear about the Mockingbird Foundation through SiriusXM. And I'm wondering if you could speak not only to Mockingbird, but to the other charitable affinity groups in the community about the extent to which there might be opportunities or what we can do to help give voice to the deeply important altruistic work that happens among Phish fans.
No, I'm so glad you asked, Ellis. Thank you so much for being here. Just last week, we had on Ross Brillhart, who is one of the directors at Divided Sky Foundation. There are plenty of ways to engage with Phish Radio, the easiest of which is a listener show called Crowd Control. 2 different listeners every single week have the opportunity to hand select any official releases that are meaningful to them and talk about the things that matter. And so that is a very, it's a recurring opportunity for anyone and everyone within the community to chime in. We certainly try to promote and spread the good word about all the charitable endeavors that are underway and underfoot throughout the Phish community. And, you know, Scott Marks has done a guest DJ. He's been on the air. There certainly are spots that I can remember and recall just off the top of my head where both the Mockingbird Foundation, the Waterwheel have been involved. But there's, you know, so much audio real estate that we need all the help we can get. And so I would urge you yourself, Ellis, to please put together a guest DJ show and send it to fishradio@SiriusXM.com and you know, do the work along with us and highlight all of the things that are meaningful to you on that side of the fence for sure.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ari. And that was great. I think we're all familiar with Phish Radio. And now we actually know a bit of the nuts and bolts. Thanks.
Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you both for listening and for being such amazing parts of the community.
All right, we're going to go back to in-person now. Next up is Matthew Lynch. He is an instructor here at Oregon State University in history, philosophy, and religious studies. So he is Stephanie Jenkins' colleague. His primary research, his day job, is religion and mysticism in medieval Muslim societies. And when I went to look at his CV, the most intriguing thing to me was his contributions to a volume called Islam in 5 Minutes. All right, and Matt is going to talk to us about collective conscious capitalism. Matt.
When Chekhov saw the dark winter, he saw a winter dark and bleak and bereft of hope. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong script. Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew B. Lynch, and today I'll be presenting on collective conscious capitalism and other ridiculous topics. I'd like to thank you all for plunging in and joining me here in Corvallis, where I teach about religion, history, and philosophy. I'd also like to express my deep gratitude to the organizers and presenters thus far, and I hope you enjoy my shitty vibes. Or at least bear with me till you can go listen to Elisa's show. I was interested in presenting at this conference since before I knew it existed, if that makes any sense. It allows us all to process our fandom and appreciation with the band alongside our deep intellectual interests, as the papers thus far have shown. Personally, I joined in this with this crowd the same way most people did through 1994's acclaimed album, Hoist. Everybody joined because of Hoist, right? Yeah. Attending my first show in '98, when I was of legal age to make that choice, I have been enmeshed in Phish one way or another ever since, outside a brief hiatus of my own that stretched between Coventry and 2015. I even moved to Burlington following my graduation from Marlborough College, yes, like the cigarette, itself home at that time to Goddard refugees. But just as Goddard and Marlborough have closed, the lizards have died, I have moved on from Vermont and the nonprofit work that I did there. And now I generally pursue topics in the nebulous fields of religious studies and critical theory, the study of mystical Islam, as well as in my current topic. This is Marlborough and Burlington, for those of you who don't know it. My current topic, religion in the counterculture. So it's from this latter perspective that I'd like to begin my remarks today. I've handed out, well, I didn't hand out a sheet of definitions. I'll just go over the definitions on the screen. I'd like to begin by explaining what I mean by the collective conscious. It's adapted, of course, from Carl Jung's collective unconscious. I use it to describe the awareness that we have during a Phish show, that we are there in that moment, individually and together, or as to quote one Ernest Anastasio says, I know you know that you are me, and I am you, and we are here. Or, like Lennon said, I am he, as you are he, as you are me, and we are all together. Okay. We are, yeah. In his 1999 classic work in the field of religious studies, Critics Not Caretakers, Russell McCutcheon delineates between being a caretaker of religion and being a critic. While a caretaker may seek to describe a religious group or experience as sui generis, or something unique and or incomparable, a critic might seek to describe the conditions that make such a claim about a religious group possible. McCutcheon is also careful to say, that cultural critique is not done to criticize anyone who participates in a religion, though that is often how it is framed and misunderstood. Rather, a social culture critic is someone who's interested in studying mechanisms whereby systems of dominance, marginalization, systems by which power is articulated and negotiated, to understand how those systems work, how they function, how they last over time. So, unlike the denizens of Fishnet's discussion board, or the attendees at the Haters Ball the other night, my intention here is not to criticize or call out anyone, most especially not anyone who wants to do good or feel good. Not only did I have pleasure is virtue painted in Greek on my face for the 1999 Deer Creek run, I have also benefited from and seen the benefits of working within nonprofits, and I've received so much psychological support from the Phish community that sanity almost came my way. So anyway, I'm not one to criticize, but I can do critique. And it's to that point that I'll turn, and if you stay, yes, left is how you'll be forced to learn, from me anyway. So first, some data. This is the business panel, after all. So I found one tax form from 2022 for the Waterwheel Foundation. There's not a ton of their stuff openly available online in terms of reporting, like some other charities have you can go on to rate my charity. So I found this one. It shows the 2022 revenue of the Waterwheel Foundation at just over $3 million, with distributions in the amount of $1.3 million. And the fair market value of their assets, $10 million. Not bad. Pretty good. So according to the Waterwheel website, it was created by Phish in 1997 to oversee the band's various charitable activities. The Waterwheel Foundation has been harnessing the kindness of the Phish fan community to create positive change for about 25 years. Its origin, as most in here are aware, came when Ben & Jerry's approached the band about making Phish food ice cream. In my view, a top 3 Ben & Jerry's flavor. I don't eat ice cream anymore, but that's a whole other story. Needing a charity to put proceeds to, the foundation was born. While I could not find any specific data on the sales of Phish food other than anecdotal, we do know a little bit about the businesses that birthed Waterwheel. So this is the Ben & Jerry's, the Ben and Jerry, of course. When I worked in nonprofits in Vermont, we could always call them up, they'd hook us up. And their Ben & Jerry's estimated profit, $450 million. The Unilever purchase price of Ben & Jerry's was $326 million, and the Unilever market cap is $137.58 billion. So I put this quote up here from Ben & Jerry's current CEO, that socially responsible companies are currently making up 60% of the growth in fast-moving consumer goods in developed markets. I also have found this Polestar thing. I don't know, I spelled Polestar like it's my car, but the other Polestar website has Phish's overall gross as a band at $595,859,900.27 as of 2022. So that puts them, let me see, it's on here, you can't really see it, but they're 33rd on the list, just behind Justin Bieber and ahead of Lady Gaga. And I just wanted to mention this point. As of May 2018, Vermont's 6,044, this is according to 7 Days newspaper. By the way, this is a newspaper in Burlington that never responded to my writing samples. As of May 2018, Vermont's 6,044 nonprofits reported $6.8 billion in revenue and $13.2 billion in assets in their latest IRS filings. The Federal Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that nearly 18% of the state's workers are employed by 501c3s. Now, you may find it interesting if I had put up the list of charities that 7 Days listed, but again, on the bitter bus with them. If you had looked at 7 Days' list, you will not find Waterwheel Foundation on that list. This may sound strange to you, given the statement in their mission. Waterwheel fulfills this mission by collecting donations for local nonprofit organizations in the communities where Phish's tour stops via Waterwheel's touring division. However, Waterwheel also supports nonprofits based in Phish's home state of Vermont, especially those focused on the Lake Champlain watershed. As it turns out, the foundation has a listed headquarters in a building above Grand Central Station in New York City. Back on the train, indeed. And at this point, well, the Waterwheel Foundation, as you all know, is just one in an ever-growing list of Phish-affiliated nonprofits, including some of the sponsors of this event. Hedy, right? We like this. We're here. And at this point, you may be asking yourself, Matt, well, so what? What's the use? What's the issue here, Matt? So now I'd like to turn your attention to the sphere, and if you don't mind, the so-called charity ticket. First, the sphere. So I'd like to start with my friend Jesus. He lives in Chicago. He's a huge head. He bought a ticket to the sphere for April's shows, and being aware that in 2024, it's just bad form to not be attentive to carbon emissions, Jesus looked up his carbon footprint on sustainabletravel.org and found round-trip airfare to the sphere would produce about 0.7 metric tons of carbon. So Jesus left Chicago, and went to the sphere. And once he was there, he looked around and he saw 19,999 of his closest friends. I mean, he loves all of us, but his closest friends were there. Doing some quick math, Jesus realized if they all took roughly the same trip as him, excepting, of course, the random Phish fan who actually lives in Vegas, and we won't talk about him, they had collectively produced 14,800 metric tons of carbon dioxide. Realizing this, he called his friend who didn't attend because he was busy teaching at Oregon State University and asked, how much carbon is that? His friend, being a religious studies professor, asked his students, and they arrived at the realization that the amount of carbon dioxide produced by the people flying to the sphere was roughly 112% of the size of the sphere itself. But as dry ice, it'd be less, right? So we're talking about as gas. Okay. Jesus quickly realized, like the sci-fi soldiers, he had to get back to Chicago and figure out what to do about this. So Jesus goes back to Chicago, he's thinking about this, and he says, what if we use principles drawn from conscious capitalism in order to address this? Conscious capitalism, a euphemistic term developed by John Mackey, co-founder of Whole Foods, and author Raj Sisodia, has the following definition. The term conscious capitalism refers to a socially responsible economic and political philosophy. The premise behind conscious capitalism is that businesses should operate ethically while they pursue profits. This means that they should consider serving all stakeholders, including their employees, humanity, and the environment. In which case, we might then ask, what amount of capital could we deploy to offset the damage done to the environment by our business, the business of Phish, perhaps by means of a carbon offset. So using carbonfootprint.com, surely the most reputable of carbon footprint calculators that show up in a simple Google search, they suggest that $4.09 is a reasonable sum to offset Jesus' flights, though other sites quoted me as much as $12. If we multiply that out by 20,000, we arrive at the rather reasonable sum of $81,800, or roughly the cost of 81 charity tickets to attend the Sphere. With this low cost in mind, to fix any damage he's caused, Jesus rises again, buys the charity ticket at the discounted price of $858 price point for the Sunday show, and attends the Sphere again with full peace of mind. And it's precisely that peace of mind and the role the charity ticket plays within it that we are putting under the microscope here today. If all it takes is a simple donation to the environment via carbon offsets or tree plantings or any charity named, disclosed, or no, I need not worry about my participation in this event, nor the money I'm blowing to attend it. I can finally just be here now with 19,999 of my closest friends. But as there's Slavoj Žižek explains in this short video, the perception that I can do good while I'm consuming and spending within this system is a type of illusion. I'm gonna see if I can make this play. It's maybe like too advanced for me. There it is. No, that's the slide. It's not playing. It makes me sad. It's such a nice video. Play you. All right, I'll read it out. So Žižek, again, the perception that you can do good while consuming and spending within this system is a type of illusion. It's an illusion that is provoked by the system to encourage you to continue consuming. So he points out that in the very consumerist act, you buy your redemption from being a consumerist. And the very act of egoistic consumption then contains its opposite. He says the almost absurd example of this is so-called Tom's Shoes, an American company who's formalized one for one. They claim for every pair of shoes you buy with them, they give a pair of shoes to some African nation and so on, doing my best Žižek impersonation here, so that you know for one act of consumerism, but included in it, you pay for the ingredient of it for doing something of the environment and so on. This generates almost a kind of semantic overinvestment, a burden you know you're not just buying a cup of coffee. At the same time, you fulfill a whole series of ethical duties. He later says, that this, for me, is the last desperate attempt to make capitalism work for socialism. Let's not discard the evil. Let's make the evil itself work for good. Or let's have global capitalism, but with a human face. Thus, for Žižek, in conscious capitalism, one smashes with one hand what they repair with the other hand. Or to quote Ernest Anastasio again, if you can heal the symptoms, but not affect the cause, you can't heal the symptoms. So how then should we understand our own pescatarian consumption in this present moment? As my friend Garrett Cook, the Portland-based Bizarro author, put it, remembering what you're tuning out from creates the virtue of tuning out. And I, for one, increasingly find it hard to tune out when the very things I'm attempting to tune out from have come to constitute the space in which I'm trying to tune out. In an era of $35,000 luxury suites at the Sphere, with Trey reporting to CBS that the best concerts they've ever played were at a resort in Mexico, perhaps you'll forgive me if I don't sing in that key.
Matthew,
yeah. Yeah, I'm almost done. Thank you. Yet my ultimate target here, if I have one, isn't really about Phish or the Waterwheel, as you may have noticed, but rather the exact spot we here collectively find ourselves at this present moment. Inside a university with a $900 million endowment at a moment when students, right over there, are asking their universities to reconsider financial support for militarized solutions to complex political issues. We might just ask, what are we doing here? And yes, we can ask if we really feel good about our hedonistic expenditures, about getting off. And can we feel better about getting off if we donate to the people doing good in the scene? And does it really matter to we? Ultimately, once we are aware of where we are, can we still have fun? And I have a final quote. If there's time, I guess there's just enough time, right? Time. Whatever your spirit, whatever your ritual, you are in it. You are being consumed by the social inevitability of consumer decision. Religion is a word to intensify what we do when we name authority, practice interactions, and interpret life itself. Consumer culture, like religion, could be merely another emblem of alienated self-consciousness. Or it could incite the beginning of a new self-consciousness to liberate us from the very obsessions it compels. And that's from Catherine Lofton's Consuming Religion. I have some other thoughts, but I'll close with that. This presentation was made possible by Oregon State School of History, Philosophy, and Religious Studies, as well as Calico Cut Pants. You gotta give. Many thanks for the assistance provided by my undergraduate students, Quentin Potter and Kara Highland, Garrett Cook, the author, Candace Mixon, and of course my puppy Jelly, as well pictured here in her Wrigley Field bandana and dancing bear collar. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much.
Should I stay here?
Yeah, sure. Do we have any questions here for Matthew? Sam.
Hey, Matt. Thanks for the presentation.
Welcome.
So, as someone who did go to the Sphere, and the market situation was pretty outrageous. It seems like we've got a bunch of market failures going on, and a lot of them are sort of caused by the excesses of capitalism. Are you, in terms of solutions here, are you talking about like remedies such as, say, breaking up Ticketmaster and Live Nation, or what other sort of remedies are you thinking about to make the Phish experience more affordable and accessible to fans? Or are you really just talking about smashing capitalism altogether?
Right, so let's go back to the beginning. Again, critique is not meant to advance a specific type of agenda, but to lay bare the hidden mechanisms of power and exclusion that are created within these conditions, right? So I don't have a new thing to substitute for you for what's going on. I have an awareness that I'd like to bring from my background to that. And from there, if you want to do something about it, that's your choice, right? But as far as an agenda, I would say, yeah, like they should go on another hiatus, and we should all move out to the woods in Vermont and have a nice time. That's just my personal opinion. That's not critique.
All right. So as an economist,
Yes.
What you're describing here, what you are called buying redemption with your carbon offset, I would say you are simply paying the external cost of your consumption, that the market does not fully capture the full cost of production of a given product, in this case traveling to the Sphere, because we don't pay essentially for the damage to the environment. I don't know what the problem with that is. I'm happy to say recognize that the market does not fully capture all of the costs of production and that the true price should reflect all of those. I guess you make it sound like it's a bad thing, and I look at that and think, well, that's a good thing.
Right. So the question is, or as far as I understand, you're saying that the market price of what we're doing and what we're paying hasn't built in the social costs that it has, right? But that means we're thinking about the world in terms and structures created by capitalism, right? That we're not thinking of it in terms of free human beings, right? We're translating all of our action into money, right? Now, that's what we do, right? That we're describing conditions as they are, right? And so the critique is that point that the very thing that's creating the problem is that paradigm to start with, right? Now, I'm not saying personally, right, like I have a substitute or something like that. It's that when you look at it through this lens, you see how the situation actually perpetuates itself while it thinks it's fixing itself. And so when you think because you've paid that money in, you've done your fair share, right? When we give to nonprofits, right, we have done our fair share. Why do nonprofits exist? Right? Do we know why in the tax code nonprofits exist?
Tax write-offs?
Tax benefits for whom, right? Tax benefits for the people who already have the greatest benefit from the system, right? So I voted for Bernie Sanders 4 times, right? Anybody who's listened to him knows this critique, right? When we allow nonprofits to be the space that provides the goods and services that allows for people who already have massive wealth to protect their wealth, we are perpetuating a problem, right? And we're perpetuating the problem and the power structures that have concentrated wealth in the hands of a few, and it has not made its way down to the people. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mallory here.
Hi, Mallory.
Thank you. That was an amazing presentation, and it was totally not what I thought it was going to be. I was like, I don't want to go talk about this. This is going to be a business model. The work of Barry Barnes et al., who does Grateful Dead scholarship, who's the economist who's been like quoted in the Wall Street, whatever that paper is,
I've heard of it.
the Wall Street
Yeah.
Journal, as for the Grateful Dead's business model, and why they're so darn successful strictly from that capitalist economic standpoint, which is always. Barry's a great guy, but always really resistant to that interpretation. So I'm wondering if I can, hopefully not incoherently, tie these 3 presentations together. So my question for you is, what do you think the connection between the production of the elevated consumer of Phish content and things such as Sirius Radio is? And I thought of this, so listening to our previous speaker, Ari, so are things like GD Radio and Sirius Radio, are they they're just big advertisements for the bands to create these consumers? And what really kind of sparked, so of course I love to listen to the music streaming too, although I don't have Sirius Radio. And we're lucky that we have a couple of shows that they go out over the internet now, but they're local shows that are, they're not continuous. But what made me think about it was the line that, there's more, what is it called, station IDs on Phish Radio, and then his response of well, there might be that friend in the car. So you've got your hardcore Phish fan who's already going to be listening to Phish and knows everything and knows all the notes. But you've got their companion who maybe is Phish curious, and hopefully we're going to keep telling them, this is what you're listening to, this is what you're listening to, this is what you're listening to, consume this, consume this, consume this. And then also his comment that they do not model that after the Grateful Dead radio station model, and I'm like, because of this demographic, and I went,
interesting.
Yeah. So we're so what role, if you just have any reflection on that in producing this exact kind of content consumer fan?
I mean, we're cynical, right? We understand what marketing is and persuasion and repetition creates, and we know how these things work. We study these things, right? There's communication and marketing and these sorts of whether you want to frame it positively or not. So I mean, I like Phish Radio. It's like, for me, it's how I get to work in the morning. I just throw that on and I make it down here. But in terms of connecting it to the broader situation, I mean, it's also a siloing effect, right? So you have a dedicated radio station for, even if you're trying to reach new fans, right? Jam On was, the entire ecosystem was present within Jam On. And I know Phish does things to broaden that out, right? The station does. And so, I think there's a balance there of democratizing the situation, right? But also they have their own interests. So I'm not sort of speaking to that. As I said, I think the larger thing I wanted us to consider is like this context of what Ivy is not here called the nonprofit industrial complex, right? Yeah. So that was what I was really pointing towards, which is that, university endowments, for instance, you can give money to the university. Those endowments then get reinvested into the stock market, which brings gains for those shareholders over there, right? So that was the thing I was actually drawing attention to. I'm actually not like I like Phish. I've been to a bunch of shows, but I'm not like an expert on that sort of business side.
I'd chime in here, guys.
Please. Thanks, Ari.
Hi. Yeah, of course.
I didn't realize you were still there. Okay, cool. Whoa.
Oh no,
I was going to do this privately with you in an email. Oops.
No, I'm so happy that I can also be an active listener and be a part of the conversation. The one qualification that I would make to the original question about station IDs that I would like to explain, if possible, given the forum, is that when you looked through our log and you saw the production pieces that play in between the songs, we've sort of taken the traditional radio terrestrial station identification, and because SiriusXM is a non-commercial music platform, we've iterated that to
Was it more comfortable listening to Ari without him on the screen?
Yo, you don't have to look at me. You could just hear me. I'm sorry.
$20 a month for this service.
So anyway, getting back to my answer, we've sort of iterated the station identification.
Back? We'll see. Does somebody else have a question?
We're after time.
We're after time.
We can get Ari back.
Okay.
I'm here for it. Sorry, guys.
He jumps in, but look.
You can talk.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So how to do with tickets?
Yeah, so I had a few different reactions, right? So the one reaction to, the hypercritical reaction to your question, Paul, is that it's a corrupt product of a corrupt system and it's only fun because we're spending money on it, right?
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, and the other objection is this is the best we can do under these circumstances, right? And I agree. I'm not trying to say that there we go. We got Ari back.
Okay, Ari, we're back. So we're past times, but we're going to go ahead and say, please answer this question.
I'm sorry to zoom in such a major way here, but I just wanted to qualify the sort of station identification comment where we've sort of moved beyond the traditional terrestrial. You're listening to 1010 Wins with Paul Stanitz, whatever the case may be. And so what we try to do in between songs is provide some exposition as to the band's personality, what the context of the songs we're playing, what the channel does, point people to specific things that they might like. And as I'm looking through here, I mean, in an hour, your traditional station IDs in Phish Radio, you're going to hear a custom jingle from Trey in his home studio. You're going to hear a heads up as to the specific concerts that we're going to play in full and when they're going to play. You're going to hear a little bit of explanation in that 14-second piece that I played about the Phish multiverse. And then you're going to hear Fishman identifying the channel on his vacuum cleaner through a vocoder in a creative way. And so what we try to do is really expand the ethos of what the audio experience might be. I can definitely understand the the sort of length of time in when, for a listener. But I can also sort of balance everything in terms of trying to provide all sides and all opinions. I mean, that's the biggest challenge of what we're all doing, is to create a balance here. And by the way, Matthew, I love the presentation.
Thanks,
I think and read about conscious capitalism quite a bit, and it really is top of mind. Do you think that the issue is that they played the sphere, or that they're sort of just perpetuating it by keeping the demand so tight around 4 shows only?
Right. No, I mean, I'm cool with them playing the sphere. That's it kind of isn't. I mean, I would like it. As a fan of 90s Phish, I can see them anywhere though. I told everybody, you just give me a little Sunshine and a 94 Phish tape, and I'll make my own sphere, dude. So yeah, so I mean, I think the non-transparency of the charity ticket is kind of the thing that kind of jumped out to me. So it says charity ticket, and then you go look, and what is the charity? How much money of this ticket is going to charity? And why isn't every ticket a charity ticket then, right, at that point? So yeah, that's where that was coming from.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for extending the time, and sorry that the screen is so big and whatnot there. And
that's awesome.
Next time I hope to be there in person. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the weekend, and thank you for allowing me to chime in one more time.
All right. Thank you, Garrett.
From the band. Grateful Dead used to do.